Meeting to order the Downtown Development Authority of the Village of Oxford, Monday, August 20th. Please pay respects to the flag. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, Susan.
Rod Charles.
Here.
Cole Ellsworth.
Here.
Dorothy Johnston. Here. Nancy Rosentrader.
Here.
Pete Schultz.
Here.
I'm here. Sue Sardi.
Here.
Sue Oles.
Here.
Elgin Nichols.
Here.
Any public comment on non-agenda items? Seeing none. Consent agenda. Can I have the approval of the proposed agenda?
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda as written.
I'll second.
Been moved and supported. Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Anything?
Me?
Okay.
I'd like to understand why we don't get copies of this in advance. I don't like reading this the day 15 minutes before the meeting starts. If we can't open it, we can't read it.
Okay.
I'll work to make sure the PDFs are working appropriately for everybody.
That would be appropriate.
The approval of the July 16th regular meeting minutes.
I'll make a motion to approve them as written.
Been moved and supported. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Me?
Anything?
For the same reason.
So noted. Reports.
I move that we accept the treasurer's report, including the bills of $7,713.01, revenue expense report, the police report, and executive director report.
I'll second that.
Been moved and supported. Any discussion? Roll call.
Charles.
No.
Ellsworth. Yes. Johnston.
Yes.
Rosentrader. Yes. Schultz.
Yes.
Yes. Sardi.
Yes.
Oles.
Yes.
Nichols.
Yes.
Unfinished or old business. The budget 2017-18 summary.
Closed out the fiscal 2017-2018 budget year with a surplus of $78,327.72. A little higher than what I was expecting to end the year with a positive balance for. That's been moved into our fund balance account for our reserves, which are being set aside for our streetscape project. Our revenues were up about 3.5% last year. Our expenditures were only running about 84% of what we budgeted last year. The primary areas where we didn't expend money were in the facade grants and in our capital improvements funds. Health insurance line was higher. Went over our budget last year because the budget was set at the single-person buyout rate as opposed to an actual employee getting the benefits. So those numbers have been corrected for the upcoming budget year that we're now in. So pretty much at this point, that 78,000 has been allocated to the streetscape project.
Okay, very good. Brad?
How much is in there right now?
In what?
In the set aside right now?
In our fund balance?
Yeah.
Our fund balance is roughly $475,000.
That's close enough. I just want to get a ballpark idea here.
That's streetscape and all other monies, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
That's what I was going to ask.
Okay, good. Very good. We receive and file this.
I'll make a motion to receive and file this report.
Support.
It's been moved and supported. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The Holy Cross sign grant?
Back in April of this year, Holy Cross applied for a sign grant. The April meeting on 4/16, you approved the application. You recently completed the sign. You have a picture in your packet. I have a copy of the invoice that was marked paid in my office. It's rather illegible scan, but you can tell. So at this point, the sign is up. It looks good. They don't have the vinyl insert yet. But speaking with Pastor Matt, he tells me that when they get into the school year, they'll have some vinyls up in there so that it'll actually look more colorful and more like the original schematics.
Elgin?
How much money do we have remaining in the sign grant fund?
After this, for this fiscal year, we'll have $3,000 unencumbered.
Okay.
So you need a motion to approve the 1,500 then?
Motion to approve
I will
disbursement.
make that motion to approve the 1,500.
I'll support.
It's been moved and supported. Or any discussion? Roll call?
Charles?
Yes.
Ellsworth?
Yes.
Johnston?
Yes.
Rosentrader?
Yes.
Schultz?
Yes.
Yes for me. Basardi?
Yes.
Olds?
Yes.
Nichols?
Yes.
Thank you. The business boot camp summary?
We recently hosted a series of business training programs. We did them in the morning so as to allow business owners to be there before the opening of business, or be there just at the start of business. It was a partnership with Main Street Oakland County. They paid $3,000 for the speaker. We paid $320 for catering. I thought that was a bargain. We had good attendance at all of the workshops. It was interesting because we didn't have a whole lot of people come for the entire series. We had them come in for one or two, at most three, and so it was quite interesting. Feedback was very positive. I do have the materials for his handouts and his training aids, so that if people are interested, they're also on our website under the tab for the boot camp. So if you have interest and you're a business owner and want access to those, let me know, and I can hook you up. Lots of requests to do it again. Some conversation about bringing Phil back again to do that same series of workshops for people who missed it, and utilize word of mouth to get people to attend it. I don't want to pay the tab for Phil to come back, $3,000. So overall, I think it was a good success, and I think it's something that we can do quarterly, is do some type of business owner education, whether it's on advertising and marketing or visual merchandising or just business retention training, business retention and expansion training. Part of our core mission.
Glenn, did we have much interaction or as far as participation from the attendees?
People ask a lot of questions. People
That's good.
talk to Phil afterwards. He sold a couple copies of his books. We've applied some of his tools to some of what we've been doing within the DDA, and it's amazing to see what happens when you start leveraging some of the tools.
Good.
So not only did our business community gain from it, but we gained from it as well in terms of our marketing and advertising and branding.
Elgin, whoops.
No, go ahead.
I was just wondering if there's anybody on this board that's in business that attended this session.
I did.
You did? Could you give us feedback on what your thoughts
It
are?
was very good. He was a brick and mortar owner before he did this, so he understood what it was like to have a business and then how to drive the people into the business. He was very good with social media. Very good with teaching social media, and did it in a way that you could understand it. So he was very good.
Awesome. Brad?
That's what I was going to ask Sue if she went. You said drive into the business. What's an example of what he gave about driving people into a business?
He talked about, which I thought was a very good point, he said, When he was a store owner, he was in the coffee shop. A woman came in that was not familiar with the downtown area and asked where she could go to shop, and the girl behind the counter said Target. And yes, and he said that was a light bulb went on to him. He said all of the businesses downtown should all get to know the services that you have right in the downtown, which I thought was a very good point.
Very good.
So he just had, if you can go on and look at his training, his bullet points are really good for businesses.
So Glenn, a takeaway might be then if we had a list of businesses that could be given to every business in town, would that be something that's doable?
Say that again?
What you just said is having businesses aware of what other businesses are in town, so maybe something like a poster that could be distributed amongst business owners downtown. That seems to be inexpensive and doable. There you go.
He did it.
Awesome.
Perfect.
Glenn, did you like his idea of going around? They had a contest, and to see how many pictures could be taken in local businesses. And then they got together for a dinner, and they had the winner of the best pictures. And he said that just brought camaraderie into the downtown. So he had a lot of ideas for how to get downtown together, don't you think?
Yes. That's why I have that folder of things to do.
So I think he had a lot of ideas that we could use.
Very good. Glenn, you mentioned about if he comes back. If he comes back for any at all, would it be the 3,000 again, or is there a different rate to come back for a day, one meeting, or a bargain rate or something?
That is the bargain rate.
Okay.
That was provided by Main Street, Oakland County, as to both Oxford and Lake Orion. We ended up hosting it because originally Lake Orion bowed out of it, and I said, well, can we do it as a breakfast meeting instead? And pushed forward with it and got good attendance rather than the concerns of having a midday meeting.
Right.
It was originally pitched as a lunch and learn, and that doesn't work for small business owners.
Eldon?
Could we get the county to be encouraged to support some funds in this direction?
Yes, we're doing that right now. We're having a discussion with Oakland County amongst the northern Oakland County communities to regular basis, because we don't like to travel to Ferndale or Pontiac or Royal Oak to do training. We want to have it in our backyard.
Good idea.
So that would be what, Ortonville, Oxford, Orion, Clarkston?
Holly, not Clarkston. Clarkston doesn't have a Main Street organization that's part of the county. But Holly, Ortonville, Oxford, and Lake Orion.
Could we do Rochester? I think you could get Elena Campbell on board because she loves this town. I think she would help us promote it.
Yeah, we can partner with Rochester. It's just, the intent was to stick with the smaller communities and target the message to the smaller communities. Oxford is a bit heavier hitter over downtown in terms of the numbers of people.
Sue?
Well, I just want to say that a lot of the stuff were what I'm going to call off-the-cuff remarks that he made that weren't part of his written material, and that's the advantage of going to these, is that you get to pick his brain and have the stories, which I found very interesting. And I also want to compliment Nicole on the food. The breakfasts for all 4 days were great.
I appreciate it, thank you.
Yes, kudos to 51 Diner for the catering.
Very good. Elgin?
I assume that you're just at the beginning of this and putting it together, so when you get it all together, you'll bring it back.
I'll have a proposal for you next month. We're looking at doing visual merchandising at some point in November for our downtowns.
Okay.
Very good. The M24 TAP grant update?
For your later review and perusal of the spreadsheet, you can see the amendments we made to our budget for the TAP grant that we had to amend and resubmit on August 8th. We submitted on August 7th for about $22,000 less on TAP grant matching funds than we were previously. The overall project has decreased in cost because of MDOT and the State Historic Preservation Office concerns. So we've made those adjustments and we resubmitted. We'll hear, if we have any issues, we'll hear at the end of this month, and then we'll have a funding decision at the end of September. The expectation is once we've met the SHPO demands, that we would then be granted the grant. Was the discussion at the end of June.
Glenn, when we hear from SHPO and then basically to SEMCOG and everybody who finally gives us approval on it, will we then get a clean final drawing from the architect then showing us a better picture of what we're getting?
At that point, we'll go into final design
Okay.
of the project, at which point then we'll get, as a result of that, we have $90,000 in our budget for final design work for the streetscape in our budget this year. That will generate the final renderings and the engineering documents for AECom to actually go out and build it.
Okay. Because I think the soonest that we can get final renderings available and get them blown up and get them postered, set up on the wall and start showing them around town to everybody and basically get them in the paper and get them to everybody to start throwing them out there in front of everybody. So again, raise awareness every bit that we can.
Yes.
Do we have a date of when this is going to start?
Spring of 2020.
It's 2019.
2020.
They changed it.
2020.
Oh,
I know, I keep hearing different dates. Okay, so like
2020
as
is
soon
what it
as
is.
the ground thaws, right? Like March or April, and they'll be,
March.
okay, March,
I
okay,
say like April through October is construction season.
okay.
To that point,
Right.
so 2020 is what Glenn, I think that was a good point you made in the paper about there's some possible, but it's certainly 2020 with a possible 19, right?
It is scheduled for 2020, subject to any legislative changes to the road funding projects for this region. It could come out of the legislature this end of this year if they have the money.
Then,
Advance it, but
has there been
that's-
discussion about how the road's going to be blocked off?
In terms of
Bypass, construction, half and half, all the way, or what?
the maintenance of traffic memo indicates they will start on the east side, 2 lanes, divert the northbound traffic, which would be occupying those lanes, to go up Glassby to Oxford to Ray Road. That's their preferred alternative for the traffic pattern.
Want to run it? Say it again, please.
Okay, they'll detour from Drainer to Oxford Hills to Glassby, which turns into Oxford, and then goes up to Ray Road past the high school. That's the northbound traffic route for this
Okay.
project. How long that will be in place, we don't know yet, because we don't have bid documents yet, which will tell us what their scheduling is going to be for the period within the village. That's the reconstruction.
Is there any chance that they could work through the night? When somebody had suggested that, put the pressure on the possibility that they could work.
That's always a possibility that they can work overnight, given the village recently giving them permission to work overnight with regards to the maintenance project that we're watching happen again today. That's a possibility, and that may be included in the bid documents. It's always an alternative, but it depends on how it's bid.
Any more, Elgin?
Understand there was a problem with sidewalks, colored sidewalk, that kind of thing, where they didn't agree.
The major issues they had were the length of the medians. So we had to shorten and truncate our medians. Because of that, we put in a third pedestrian crossing mid-block in South Washington area between Caveman and Pip and the Ox. We requested a third mid-block crossing there so that we would get an additional 40-foot median in that area. The main issues they had were tree species and location of trees, the intersection pavement marking, and there were some concerns, but it was negotiable on the colored concrete for the sidewalks.
I'm still to assume that there's going to be no light at Dennison, is that correct?
There is not going to be any additional signalization at this point in time.
Any other discussion? Receive and file.
I'll make a motion to receive and file the TAP grant update.
Support.
It's been moved, support. Any other discussion, questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, same thing. The Main Street Tech Visit Summary.
Last week, we were visited by Jay from Downtown Professional Network. Has expertise in doing community planning for these types of construction visits. He's done over 40 of these, and so he has pretty much a template of what he's looking for and what he's looking at in a community. So he can come in over a period of 2 days, do an assessment, talk to business owners, and then produce a report. There is separate printed copies outside of the packet for everybody, and I emailed them out. Again, technical difficulties with PDFs last week. I don't know what's up with my computer, but so we have a draft action plan. If you have any questions about it, feel free to ask me. Feel free to have me give you Jay's email, and he's said he will answer any and all questions regarding that plan from the board. We are 18 months ahead of schedule with regards to getting ready for the construction season, which means we're right on schedule.
I think he did a good job. I mean, he had a lot of great ideas of involvement for everybody. A lot of good material that he's provided for it, so I think it's well worth it for everybody to take a look at it and come up with some of the ideas on how to implement everything. I think it's going to be a whole lot of selling on our part for the entire project, so it's going to take a lot of work for everybody's part to make it happen. But I mean, he involved the whole community, all the different organizations, everybody from the store owners to basically the entire community to buy into it, support it, updates, so on and so forth. So he had really a lot of good information on it. So, Sue?
Yeah, I thought it was very good. And yes, he provided a lot of things that you're not going to read in the report because they're extraneous remarks. On the downside, I personally was very disappointed that there was only 2 of us from the task force committee that showed up to meet, and on the second day, there was only 3 businesses, one of which is going out of business the 1st of September, that bothered to come to the round table. The second day, I think there was only 2, perhaps, and then I think he and Glenn went out and tried to talk to people in the community, and then he left early. So when I came back for the 3 o'clock session, he was already gone, which I was disappointed about because I think I took like 5 pages of notes. I think that listening to somebody is much more effective than sitting and reading about it. And what I took out of it is that don't wait and start now, is what I took out of the whole thing. So, again, my disappointment was that not more people came to hear it.
The website redesign update?
We need to receive and file that. It does say.
Do we? Okay, my mistake.
Yeah. So I'll make a motion to receive and file the tech visit update.
I'll support.
Thank you. It's been moved, supported, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, same thing, thank you. The website redesign?
I can give you the information. Are you going to go with it?
Go with which?
With the website where we're at? Because I'm on the committee.
Yes. Are we going to go with it? I don't know, because
Yes.
we haven't come back to the committee yet.
I believe we are, and I don't want to give away too much, but Revise is the company that we're dealing with. We've had a couple of meetings in which we come to an understanding as to the content, which we'd like to see on the website. I think Drew Benson can provide more information along that line if he wishes to do that at this stage. We're getting close to making some serious decisions as to exactly the content.
Very good.
Is that pretty close?
Yeah,
Okay.
that pretty well covers where we're at. We've gotten the initial draft in, I believe, copies of the design are in your packets, that for the DDA's portion. We reviewed that, sent some feedback. We're currently in the design phase of kind of really hammering out the details of what we'd like both the Village's site and the DDA site to look like. They're essentially going to look very similar, but with some different accents to them to kind of differentiate which is which, logos and things like that. And different setups on the front pages. I would say that if you look at the documents, the drafts included in your packet, if you have any thoughts and feedback on what they look like, maybe things you'd like to see different, please feel free to send that to Glenn and I or through Elgin, and just things we can incorporate, because this is really the time when we can decide what they look like, and then as we move forward, we'll start to dig into what's the wireframe for the sites. The site's going to look like, the tabs and the links underneath them, how they're structured. We'll start to get more into that in the next month or so. The loose time frame is that this should, we hope to have the site done in November-ish, up and running and have all our content migrated over. But yeah, so far it's going real well. We've been talking to OCTV about trying to potentially incorporate some video content on the home pages. Nothing crazy, but just some little accents that really make them look better while also being more functional. Having news spaces available, having social media right there on the home page. Those are just some of the key things that we've talked about in the committee meeting.
I think a couple of things is to make the website inviting and also be very friendly. Very easy to access information within. I think those were key.
Yes, and having accessibility to, to not only between the DDA and the village, our community partners, making sure that you can get to the Chamber of Commerce, you can get to OCTV, you can get to Oxford Township, having those be available is another key to that too.
I want to say that I was pretty impressed with the individuals that are designing this for us. A couple of people assigned to our account, and very knowledgeable. It's not their first day at the rodeo, so
that is true.
Should be beneficial.
More than just this page, because this is the only thing that was in the packet.
That's the home page. The only other thing we have is a copy of the interior page. Interior pages aren't that exciting, but that's all we have so far. We don't have a functional site to kind of play with and scroll through like that yet. Once we get the design finalized, then they can start to actually really build it out, and then we can kind of work with it in that sense.
Okay, well, I would only ask to keep it at the KISS. Everybody knows what that is. They don't need to be complicated.
That's not the intention from what I gather in the meetings. Make it very user-friendly.
And just looking at your example sheet right here, I see on there the M24 construction updates. That was one of the main points that was driven home from our review that was done here the other day, is that to make sure that that comes through, he did not recommend starting a complete separate website at all, to keep everything through the DDA and everything gets funneled through the DDA for that project, so that way it's all through one person answering questions and all the information comes out of one office. Timeline, as soon as we hear anything from the finalization and we get our drawings and everything back, I hope November is the latest that we get this up and running, because the sooner the better, because then to be able to have that website, have the drawing on there, have all the information on there, and we can start pushing it out, so that would be good.
We did talk about some deadlines.
Yep. Their process allows for a lot of space for adjustments and all that. I think that we'll be able to move faster. We don't have a ton of content to migrate over. There will be a fair amount of new stuff that we'll need to create. But compared to some other municipalities that they've worked with, I think ours will be a little bit easier. So I think we'll be able to move faster, but November is kind of where we're looking at. If we can get it up in November or in October, that'd be great too.
Awesome. Okay. Very good.
Thank you, Drew.
Receive and file on that too then.
Is there any more discussion?
Any more discussion on?
I'll make a motion to receive and file the website redesign update. I'll support.
Been moved, supported. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Thank you. New business, parking lot approach repair funding.
Basically, the driveway to the northeast parking lot next to John Burt Realty is in danger of collapsing. The issue is there is a storm sewer underneath there that has failed and is causing the apron and sidewalk to fail. And DPW has come to us with a request to cost share on this capital project. Split the costs between the Community Streets Fund and the DDA Capital Improvement Fund. Budget for repairs to our infrastructure roughly would take a hit of about 50%, or $7,500 from our fund, leaving a fund balance of $7,500 for other repair projects over the next year. Without it, I assume the DPW would be able to find other ways to do it, but I would rather cost share so that they can continue to do street maintenance in other parts of the village. There's an attached memo giving you 5 bids, 4 bids that Don solicited from various vendors, and his recommendation was to go with the one that has the lowest cost and, in his opinion, one of the best levels of service and work.
Rod?
So 7,500 or 50%?
It's 7,500, which is just over 50%.
Yeah, 50% would be 7287.50. So we're putting in a little bit more than 50%, right?
Yes.
Okay. Just real quickly, who owns the company that had the low bid? You got anyone know? I'm not familiar with them. I know Birmingham Seal Coat, but I don't know the other folks. Have we had experience with them before?
They're one of Don's preferred vendors. He's had them do several other projects in the village before. So he's had a lot of experience with them, he said. And he
Okay.
said, regardless of price, they would be his preferred vendor.
All right, that's good news.
Belgian?
I was just going to ask about the asphalt grading thickness that they're going to be running, but I'm sure it's in there. I didn't get an opportunity to read it before the meeting. If it is there, I can't spot it.
What's that, Elgin?
About the thickness, once they remove the bad section, replace the existing curbing and everything, this is repair the asphalt working area. What does that mean in terms of repair? Are they going to use a certain thickness of asphalt in that area? Are they just going to patch it and run, or what are they going to do? Gotcha, huh?
It says right here, I don't know much about it, but 2 inches of something, leveling
that's a
asphalt,
different
rolling
quote.
something or other.
And this one.
Service description, map, I don't know
I mean, that's
if
probably
none of
good
that
guideline.
means anything to me because I'm not in this business, but there's a something mix.
6-inch concrete removal.
That's just basic 2-inch cover then.
This is, yeah.
Well, as Nancy just pointed out, if you look at Birmingham Seal Coat, they have a little bit more attention to detail.
Yeah, that's what I'm looking at right now.
While we're looking at asphalt thicknesses, is there a chance that we can get the road striped for people that make lefts every morning to get into their business?
That is a possibility we can discuss with DPW. That would be outside the scope of this project, but by funding this to the extent that I've recommended, that would go a long way towards getting that striped.
Especially since we're kicking more than 50%.
Yes.
That'd be awesome. Because I gave, I've got an album of photographs I could send you. Couple mornings I've sat there and it's tractor trailers, it's everybody. They don't even see the sign, like what sign, you know what I mean? It'd be awesome.
Fresh striping would be ideal at that point in time when they're doing the concrete and the paving work on the apron,
Yeah.
so.
It seems to work at the PNC Bank down there in Lake Orion.
Any other questions?
Well, before that, so Elgin, you're asking for some more specificity on this?
Well, I can see it in the Birmingham Seal Coat quote. They're looking at 6-inch asphalt removal and replace, they say.
Right.
So 6 inches is what I would recommend too, with my background experience. But I see down further, service description, 2 inches of 20 AAM dot leveling asphalt and roll for compaction. Assuming that's taking it to the curb, but we don't know that. But it sounds to me like this company knows what they're doing, what I can see. Have we used them before?
Site work?
Yeah.
The village has.
Okay, township has them.
I don't recall.
Okay. That's all I got.
So Glenn, would you feel comfortable making the assumption that this company is going to have the same specificity that we see here with Birmingham Seal Coat?
I am operating under the assumption, and I don't like to do this, but I haven't seen the bid documents from Public Works. But based on my experience working with Don and his team, he's put together a good bid package for this, and that it would meet his requirements and his specifications. That's where I'm operating at. I'm not an engineer. I wouldn't be able to tell you if he's got a full engineered set of schematics over there, if he's just saying, this is what I need to have done.
But what you are saying is you rely on Don, right?
I rely on his expertise.
Is there one that Don prefers over the other?
Site work.
Site
This
work?
one, yeah.
Preferred
Top one.
vendor.
Yep.
Okay.
I mean, keep in mind, the village is paying for the other half, so obviously I think that they're making sure their bases are covered too, so.
Okay. Well, I trust Don, what he does. He's pretty knowledgeable, so that'd be my opinion.
But if Birmingham Seal Coat, with them being a local company here, that they do a lot to support Oxford and the schools as well. If they were willing to like match that bid, do you think there's some wiggle room there?
I have no idea.
What's the time standard on putting this together if we're going to vote on it?
Right.
I mean, to take Nicole's comment would be to ask Birmingham to come up with a different bid, right?
Which I'm pretty confident that they would. I mean,
They're right
Ryan
there,
has
their
done a
bid's
lot
higher,
for the
16
community,
grand.
even like the school parking lots he's done free of charge, just like resurfacing them and stuff, just because they needed to be done. Playgrounds, I know he did the one at DA, did the lot at Lakeville Elementary, all just donations, so.
And the
In
bid,
my opinion, a local company here in Oxford is who we should support. You know, especially if he can match the bid from the other company instead of, you know, from a different city where they at.
Pete, what's the protocol on putting out another bid?
I was just going to say,
He's already got one,
these
two,
were sealed bids, and I would think that
right.
that would be highly unethical to turn around and say to another company, if you can match it, we'll give the work to you, when there's already been a bid process. I mean, I understand what Nicole's saying, but I think that there's something
there is.
not right about that.
Not legal.
Elgin?
Yeah, I'm in total agreement with Susan. I was in the development business for quite a while, and that's just something unethical that you do not do when you send bids out. You don't ask them to get another lower bid, another company, because the bids came in lower. So I agree with Susan on this one.
Okay, give me a motion.
I didn't know that.
I'm not sure what it would be. Go with Don's preferred, or no, we're just for the 7,500.
Yeah, the 7,500. So just resolution right there.
Okay, so I'll make a motion to allocate 7,500 from the fund. You need me to read that number?
Yep.
296-731-970.000, capital improvements to contribute to the parking lot approach replacement project in the northeast parking lot. Pending he puts pink stripes down for me. Take my left turn.
I'll support.
It's been moved and supported. Any other discussion? Roll call?
Charles?
Yes.
Ellsworth?
Yes.
Johnston?
Yes.
Rosentrader? Yes. Schultz?
Yes.
Yes. Basardi?
Yes.
Bowles?
Yes.
Nichols?
Yes.
Communications update? That would be Drew.
I know Drew is
I
on
don't know
this
if you're
one.
gonna walk me into it.
You're up. How's that?
So there are a couple different things included in your package, just some updates on what we've been doing communications-wise. There's a copy of the map. The one other thing I did include in there was, it took a little longer than we expected, but I did want to come back full circle with this, the survey that we did, just to give you a report on how that went. Not quite as, we didn't get quite the response that we wanted. We did get some quality information that will that has helped with the website development process and our communications tactic in terms of understanding how the businesses in our community do communicate right now. So it's been useful, not quite as successful as we hoped, but also I think a good learning exercise for the block captain's approach that we had talked about. And it also helped connect the DDA. You know, we had business owners come talk to us and get to know Glenn a little bit better as a new director through this process. So there were some positives to it, so I think it went reasonably well. Some of the communications collateral, that's been a decent amount of what I've done lately. You know, with the posters for sidewalk sales and the downtown business map, and we're starting to work on the communication stuff for Scarecrow Festival. You know, how we want to. We've been looking at branding for it. You know, for all of our events, you know, in terms of how are we implementing the logos that we have. How are we using the fonts that we have and the individual color palettes for each event? So that's what we're looking at for Scarecrow, really kind of personalizing the content that we have so that it's recognizable what we're doing for each event. So, for instance, with Concerts in the Park, we focused on using blue and gold. For Scarecrow, we're looking at, it was gold and red. Just little things like that. So, you know, in the 8 hours a week or so that I get in there, we spend a lot of time focusing on just the aspects of that. I also did this last week. I apologize for that. Taking an excused absence for that. I don't know, Glenn, do you have anything specific you'd like to add? I don't know everything.
Whatever it is we're doing, it's working because our Facebook activity is through the roof over the last month. So we're up.
Yeah, we've been able to connect with our downtown businesses better. We were just over talking with Caveman and Pip about, it was for sidewalk sales, but also, you know, using our platform to broadcast for other businesses in our downtown. And I think we've been getting a lot better at, you know, sending out their information. They've been sharing ours. So we're getting a lot more outreach on social media. And I think having the improved effort on content from Glenn and myself, I think that's really been helpful. So,
Well, anecdotal, that's what it says on here, that most communication is done now through Facebook and other sources other than the newspapers as it was years ago. That's what your survey says, right there. Newsletter and Facebook.
a lot of word of mouth in our community as well, which I got to tell you ties in pretty well with what Phil had talked about in his seminars. And that's part of what Glenn was talking about when we're talking about, you know, promoting the DDA and, you know, how do we build word of mouth within our community? It's really about trying to communicate what we offer. So that's been a focus for us, is trying to implement some of those things that Phil talked about. And communications is very much all the little pieces trying to bring it together. So in reference to the strategic communications plan, I think we're doing well. We're working on or have gotten or have completed 8 of the 10 objectives within that. Most of them are still a work in progress, but I think we're doing well so far.
Any other questions?
Can I
Sue?
ask a question? Can this be but double-sided.
Yeah.
So the map is on one and the
Our-
business directory is on the other side.
Our intent is to eventually complete the south gateway and north gateway, so that on a double-sided sheet of paper, you have the core downtown plus the 2 corridors that approach it on one sheet of paper.
Okay, because this print is pretty tiny, and when you put this in the gold, it's near impossible to read.
We're
Brownish
still
gold
working
or
on
whatever
that.
color that you're using. That might be on our color palette, but maybe just as an outline and make this simpler to read, because this is impossible.
Elgin?
One of the concerns that we had during this session for the website was about Facebook and how information is erroneous, sometimes many directly false information. And we want to make sure that accurate information from the village was presented so these people know the real story, what's going on.
Well, it'll be nice to have our social media feeds right there on the front page too, so.
Right.
You know, in case there's some fake downtown Oxford, you know, whether it's groups of people who identify themselves as Oxford one way or another, you know, so that people can better identify, oh, this is downtown Oxford, the official Facebook page, the Oxford Downtown Development Authority, things like that, yeah.
The key is we want them to go directly to our website at some point automatically.
Or be able to direct from either direct, you know, so
Right.
you can get to the website through our Facebook post, or if you're on our website, you can get over to the social media page.
Very good. Any other discussion, questions? Thank you. The Main Street Flag Star Placemaking Grant?
Main Street Oakland County partnered with Flagstar Bank to put up a pot of money for Oakland County Main Street select communities to do targeted placemaking grants. They were small grants, maxed out at $2,500, requiring a 50-50 match. So the design committee decided that the best use would be to focus on some of the pedestrian access points in our downtown that were identified in the 2012 alleyway project plan that was put together by Lawrence Tech. So we sat down, we walked through them, we looked at the 2 alleyways in the southeast quadrant that access to our storefronts from our parking lots, and identified some target activities for those 2 areas to improve them with a quick turnaround fix that will add some color, some uniqueness, and some liveliness to those 2 areas. So included the grant application in there with you. If we are awarded, and it appears likely at this point in time that we get this grant, as of last Friday, I was told, yes, we'd have funding for all of the grants, so, but I don't have a formal letter yet. We'll be on the hook, $26.70 $500 of that would be labor from DPW and matching costs to us, so the actual cost, the DDA would be $21.70 to accomplish our 2 alleyway projects and liven up those areas.
Eldon?
Do you have an actual date where we can have this approved to go through, or?
At this point, I'm expecting to hear at the end of next week.
Okay.
Awesome. Brad?
So you're on the design committee, any feedback from you about this project?
No, we discussed it. I actually wasn't in the meeting before last, but the last meeting we discussed it, and there was some good features about it, and maybe Glenn would like to explain about the, say for example, the umbrella.
Well,
And the
the corridor between Lori's Pet Paradise and Caveman and Pip, the problem is we've got dying vegetation in the flower bed there, and we've got crabapple trees which overhang and drop the fruit on the sidewalk. So it's a very gray area. You can see from the one picture, it's not exactly an inviting place to go walking through at night. So what our general proposal was in that area is to install some bistro seating, install some lighted umbrellas, because we can't do overhead lighting in that area because of the nature of the roofs. Put in some trash receptacles, and then put pruned back, the crab apples over the sidewalk removed, mostly dying leaves that you see there on the bottom, and replace it with a significant amount of perennials that would reflect what the plantings are in Centennial Park in that area.
Let me back up then, Glenn, if you would. So you're talking about that alley right there, where Atchison's is, their building.
Yes.
You know what I'm
Yes.
talking about?
Yes.
And then
Caveman.
that alleyway right there.
Yes.
Okay, just make sure. No, I would agree, because that is an eyesore, or becoming an eyesore.
I can include a bike racks too, right?
Oh yeah, we're putting in a bike rack at the back of the alley as well, for people who would then bike into downtown. As part of that, we need some matching funds to put in a bike rack. We have 3 bike racks in downtown, and nobody knows what they look like. The other alleyway between 2 South Washington and 10 East is is a rather beige and gray desert. And again, rather than try to do something extensive that requires lots of engineering, we're just going to take advantage of the fact that it's a solar area, put in some Adirondack chairs, put in some vegetation in planters that'll grow vertically next to the building to break up that beige wall, and also put in a solar phone charging station there so people can hang out there and charge their phones at lunch.
Great idea. Receive and file.
I'll make a motion to receive and file.
Support.
It's been moved and supported. Any other discussion on it? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The relocation of the DDA office.
At the end of this month, the Chamber of Commerce and the DDA are switching offices. They have a need for increased space for storage. I have excess storage. They have 2 staff members, well, will have 2 staff members in there 80% of the time in the near future. I'm by myself except for 1 day of the week. So from the standpoint of efficiencies long-term, it makes sense for the DDA to be adjacent to where the village would be. It makes sense for the chamber to have the larger space for their storage of the materials and things of that nature. And the village council executed a lease last week so that we will switch places by the end of this month.
Belgian.
This means your rent is going to decrease and theirs is going to increase?
Yes.
Okay.
Mine's going from 0 to 0.0.
Yeah, that's what I was hoping.
I would think the other benefit is you're not the first person that somebody walks in and sees while you're trying to get some work done.
I won't be the person saying, oh, no, this is over here and this is over here, or go down to Seymour Lake Park. Or, yes, it's a more productive space, and it will be adjacent to the village staff if and when they move over.
Can't move fast enough.
Very good. Receive and file.
I'll make a motion to receive and file the Hoover office relocation.
Support.
It's been moved and supported. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Nothing was removed from the consent agenda. Professional development?
I do not have anything for professional development at this time.
All right, board member comments? Sue?
No comment. No comment.
Rod?
Glenn, what's the possibility of getting a report from DPW on activities? We have one from the police department. What about DPW?
We can incorporate that. Right now, there are issues with my IT network as I'm currently disconnected from the village servers. Normally, I would just pull all of the reports off of the server and put them in the packet, but if you want a DPW report, we can include a DPW report.
It seems if we get a police one, we might as well get the DPW since we're funding them. It's one of the things we vote on. That's it.
Belgian?
Don't really have a whole lot, other than mentioning that 51 Street, they donate a lot more than has even been said here, to the community. Good job.
Dorothy?
I don't have any comments.
Thanks, Glenn, for doing a great job. Question, is the Witches event a DDA event in October?
Witches Night Out is not a DDA event.
Is it a caveman and Pip?
They initiated it. They'll be having discussions. We will do what we can to support them without significant financial investment.
Okay,
But it's designed to be an event for the retailers and the restaurants in downtown, by the retailers and the restaurants in downtown.
okay. Okay, thank you.
Nicole?
I just want to thank you guys for the hard work on the website. It looks really good. I know that my business increased vastly when we redid our website. And I learned a lot about, how Google picks up search words and stuff like that, and how like the PDF picture of my menu was not getting any kind of like searches or anything. Everything has to be in text. So if you guys have events and stuff like that, like I strongly suggest that you type everything out and design it not in PDF form, because we spent 2 years not getting picked up on these Google searches because of that. And that was just brought to my attention recently. So since we did that, we've had a lot more catering and more business all the way around. So I look forward to that.
Good.
The DDA.
Sue?
The council does get a DDA report, so it's no big deal to put that in the packet. We've been missing the code enforcement officer for the last couple months. Is there a reason that we don't get those?
I haven't been connected to the server for 6 weeks.
Can you just ask Dan and Don both to put copies in your mailbox?
That issue will be resolved before our next meeting, at least for the chamber starts 9/1, so.
Well, I know, but when the server's down and stuff, there is always a
It's not,
hand method to do
Yes.
things.
yes. I can print them out next week, but normally I just pull them off at the server, and I will be doing that again.
It sounds like when the servers go down at the hospital, nobody can do anything. And the answer always coming from management is that pen and paper. So that's why I don't care whether the server's down. You can always call and ask to get it.
Glenn, thank you for working with Main Street for our tech visit. Again, I think it was very beneficial. It's something that we all need to start getting behind, the streetscape project for 2020. And basically every conversation that we all as individuals have with everybody we talk to, every chance you get a chance to mention it, we need to start mentioning it and get it out there as much as possible, because it'll be here sooner than we expect it to be, and to make sure that everybody's prepared. And even the day it starts, like he said in the visit, the day the first bulldozer pulls down into Main Street and starts digging, the entire town will blow up to the point of nobody told me, I didn't know about it, no information, nobody said anything. So again, as much as we can get out there, by all means, talk about it. So, thank you everyone for your help tonight. A motion to adjourn.
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Whoops.
So I actually did I was going to use.
Extended public comment, excuse me.
I had a couple of things you guys don't mind.
Sure.
I had on my list, and I just think, trying to, improve communications between our boards and commissions. So, just a couple updates on some things that have been going on around in the DDA district from the village's side. The outdoor sales ordinance. I'm sure you've seen at different spots within the town, there are businesses that have things for sale outside. There was some confusion. We've been kind of going back and forth with some businesses about enforcing this. And so just to give you guys an update that the village is taking enforcement action on the businesses in the community who are doing it. That is an ordinance violation right now to have things in front of your building outside for sale. So just an update, we are moving forward with that. There are some businesses that are likely to be pre-existing nonconformities before that ordinance was in place. That's part of what's taken so long with this process, is that we needed to go back and determine when people were where and they started doing what and what the ordinances were in place at that time. So just an update on that one, but yeah.
Elgin?
That doesn't affect sidewalk sales though, right?
No, sidewalk sales, within, I believe it's 3 feet of buildings in core downtown are allowable. But these are parts of the DDA district and like the C1 transition districts. That is not allowable. So whether that has always been enforced, I'm not 100% sure, but it's something that's come up lately. So just so you all are aware. The other thing, actually I have 2 more things. One of the other things communications-wise that we've been working on is we've had discussions about, and it's in the strategic communications plan, about a physical version of the newsletter. I've talked to our village manager, Joe Medor. There are funds village's budget for that as well. So not necessarily saying that that's something that's happening tomorrow, but something I've put together we're putting together a proposal for it. So that will be something that may be coming before you all soon. Just another form of communications to getting out to our publics that would not necessarily require connecting to the internet or having to go search out information. It would be something that goes directly to people. So could be a useful tool, and we look forward to having something about that in the future, as well as funding strategies and how you do it, the whole thing. The third and final thing, I promise, is I recently had the chance to go to the first of 2 redevelopment ready communities trainings. This is something the Planning Commission has been talking about, the concept of becoming a redevelopment ready certified community. There are grants and incentives that the Michigan Economic Development Corporation has that go along with this. Not sure if it's, there are a lot of steps involved with it. Most of it is having, plans in place, so having a downtown plan in place, having a marketing and communication strategy in place. So a lot of these things, it really isn't a village-wide kind of thing between all of our public entities. But just to let you all be aware that that is something that's being discussed, and if there are any further updates with that, I'll bring them to you all. That's something I would definitely recommend looking at the best practices included inside of it. Even if it's not a certification we go after, there are a lot of components of that are great concepts to look at, for organizational planning and things to invest time and effort into going forward to try and be a redevelopment ready community. I know Glenn is a big proponent of this program as well, but again, it takes a lot of effort. So just wanted to give you an update on what the Planning Commission's been talking about.
Thanks, Rod.
You mentioned the enforcement with the outside sales. What about, and Sue mentioned the witches thing. Does anyone now fill an application to do an event like that?
For witches should complete a special event application. I'm not sure if they have, or for Witches Night Out.
Right.
It's a good question. I'll have to talk to Joe about that. I'm not 100% sure. Good point. We did bring it up when we talked to him.
They are filling out an application.
Yeah, we gave them.
People use
That's right.
Centennial Park.
Pardon?
They are filling out an application because they are using Centennial Park for some of the entertainment that night. So.
Yeah, that's right. We did drop one off when we were talking. Yeah. So yes, that is a special event that would have to go through the application process.
Thank you, everyone. Now we're adjourned.